And I am so happy they went with someone else because they gave me the best TV that I have seen in so long. Oh, this would not have been the same if I was on it. I saw The Crucible destroy Tomi Lahren. Oh, it was so funny. So as you guys know, right here, it wasn't about, right here is Tomi Lahren. Tomi Lahren was a big Fox News host back in the day. She was just known for being like this blonde. You know what? I'll show you guys one of her old rants.
You know, I don't fear it, but it's amazing. I'm a millennial. I look at my fellow millennials. I look at those that are on college campuses right now, and I see them actively protesting for fewer rights. They want less free speech. Let that sink in. That's the problem. That's the culture on college campuses right now. And they really need to change this because I don't think they realize how damaging they are to themselves.
Now, can we be honest here? Why is she employed? Can we just be real? Be real. Is she employed because she has a lot of life experience at like 22? No, she's employed because she's hot. Like, let's just in conservative media, she's like a 10 because remember all the mids going to conservative media. Because if we were hotter, we'd be on we'd go be models or something. But you know, us mids, we got to do some work. So here we are. So again, in conservative media, she's like a 10, you know.
Into the future on college campus, really.
Sure. Up to respect women, to not behave in a misogynist way, and to behave in a pretty decent way generally. But I'm also aware that they've grown up in an era when the likes of Andrew Tate and others have become increasingly dominant in the way that a lot of impressionable young men start to think and view women. And for all that Andrew Tate can say that is positive about getting fit and being successful and confident and so on, there's indisputably a hardcore streak of misogyny that runs through his veins, which I think has been quite damaging to young men. So I'm not all in either way here, but I can certainly see the arguments. Where do you sit?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that so I watched the show and it just goes through a typical feminine view, right? So all of these things are always through the prism of the feminine. So young boys, they don't do well at school. They don't do well in school because it's all programmed for the feminine. Stay still, fold your hands, right? Be quiet. Boys are rambunctious. They like to beat each other up. They like to be mischievous. They like to break things. They like to do that kind of stuff. There's no outlet for them to do that stuff. Their teachers are all women, right? There's basically all masculinity is now considered toxic. Basically all of it. The same women who are getting their double shot of espresso on the way over to the school they're about to teach at. They're 24 years old. Sometimes they're banging their own students, right? Hilariously enough. And then these people go out to Parliament. The same women will go to Parliament. They vote to send men off to war to stab each other in the face with bayonets. And you're concerned about toxic masculinity. It cracks me up. It's like the brutal savagery of men is a necessary precondition for society to exist. And we just kind of pretend like it's not. And this show should actually be an indictment on the feminine rather than the masculine, because basically masculinity is just punished everywhere, all the time, nonstop. It's no wonder guys like Andrew Tate get so famous in these spaces. I mean, what's the alternative? The alternative is everything must be feminine, tone policing, nonsense like this. It's ridiculous.
All right, James Barr, you were laughing, but I don't think you'd enjoy
crazy.
what you're hearing.
No, I mean I don't think you've seen the show. Episode 2 is shot entirely in.
So again, we got the more dominant guy. We got Andrew Wilson, right? And then we got the two simps. It's always this dynamic. There's one guy who has balls, and then the rest will attack him for the woman. It's so obvious.
School, I didn't see one of the female teachers drinking a double shot of espresso at all. None of the teachers were flirting with students. There were male teachers as well. I don't think you're describing the show here. I think you're describing your own insecurities or agenda.
There's gaslighting.
Yeah, so this doesn't contend with the argument. Like, do you understand that I'm making an argument, an indictment of society itself based around my ideas that I'm seeing from this show? That's what I'm actually doing. So if you could contend with the fact that male savagery is necessary for the security of a nation, and that women will indeed vote in the future in parliaments to send men off to war to stab each other in the face at 18 years old with bayonets, perhaps you can contend with that before we start, getting into, well, tone policing is actually good and toxic masculinity is actually bad. It's like, I think there needs to be a little bit more toxic masculinity, or what you consider to be toxic masculinity.
Well, great. Good for you.
Nothing.
I'm glad you think so.
Nothing.
No,
You got
I mean, I
nothing?
It's like, you got nothing. KKB says, look who's monetized now. Congrats. I've always appreciated you guys telling these guys what women are like in reality. As the mom of a grown conservative son, these are all the things I've preached to him as he's grown up. Much love for you, long time, but from your long time but only lady fan. Thank you. I didn't think you guys existed. I better, if there's any women watching, put a comment under the stream, because I don't really think there's any.
You don't need to argue with that, because
You just unlocked. You just unlocked. You got nothing.
You're making up.
You
an
do
agenda
seem
that
unusually.
I've not said anything. I haven't literally said nothing about.
James, you were literally
toxic
rendered
masculinity
silent.
at all, because I'll tell you what, you can't argue with a completely illogical argument that has, like, I've not made any of the
It's a
comments.
logical argument. You may not agree with it.
I've not made any of the
making a perfectly
comments
logical argument
that you are firing at me. None of those comments are things I've said or believe in.
All right, I want to bring Tomi in, because Tomi, you've got a very interesting perspective, I think. You've talked about something different. You call it the pussification of men.
Oh, guys, I'm getting too excited because it's so good. Look, do you see Andrew? He's ready. Do you see him? He's like, I am ready to go. And then Tomi, oh.
Which is a great phrase. I'd love you to just explain what you mean by that. But also, you're not a fan of Andrew Tate or the influence he has. So that makes you, I think, an interesting commentator in this area. So just explain, first of all, the pussification of men.
All right, Piers. Well, I think, and I can't see you all, so forgive me if I'm incorrect here, but I think I'm the only female on this panel, so I'm really anxious to weigh in. Okay, so I think
Why do you lead with your gender? I mean,
the last probably 10 years, there has been what I call the pussification of men. It was everything should be about your emotions and your feelings, and men were emasculated, and this whole concept of toxic masculinity warped the minds of a lot of young men. And they felt masculine, they wanted to be masculine, but society was telling them they should be softer, that it was being toxically masculine if you wanted to play sports and chop wood and go to war. And so men were so emasculated and so beat down that then there was this revolution of what was actually toxic masculinity, the Tate brothers and others, which I feel as a female that doesn't represent true masculinity. That to me represents douchebaggery. And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider, that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money. I see that as being actually masculine. That's like the man that
so remember, masculinity is only celebrated when it's in the service of women. So all of the things she listed, they don't benefit you, the male, they benefit her. Okay?
I grew up with my dad. But what we're seeing now is these young men who look at Andrew Tate and the Tate brothers, and they see somebody who's just quite frankly a douchebag and disrespects women. And because they've been so emasculated, they're like, oh, great, that's a manly man. But that's not right either. So at some point, I think we'll go back to maybe meeting in the middle here. You can be a man who has feelings and emotions, but you can also go to war and protect and defend your family. I'm hoping we can get back there. But
so whenever women say it's about balance or meet in the middle, it's just them arguing to argue. And it's very easy to say that because they make no point. Like, what is the middle? Are you the one that deciphers what the balance is?
The two extremes right now, they're confusing men, and quite frankly, they're leaving women with few choices. And that's the real tragedy here.
You see?
Yeah. So again, now she's complaining there aren't enough men for us. Really? Someone who looks like that. No masculine, none.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. But Andrew, you were shaking your head quite vigorously. Why?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just more feminine or feminist nonsense, ultimately. And the covert feminism in society is big, especially on the conservative side. So here's what happens, right? Women need to have feminine virtues for men to be pursuing masculine virtues, for you to say things like, well, men, what I want is for men to protect me and I want men to make money. Well, that's great. What that ends up doing is it gives you a set of privilege in society. What do men get? What do men get for doing that for you?
Do you look at her face? Look at her face. She's never been told the truth ever in her life. This is the problem. Look, you get women like this and they get clout too young and they have no one to humble them. They just think they're right about everything. They really do. I mean,
What are we getting from women for doing that? Are we getting
look at, he says, what are we getting from women in return? Why is that an offensive question?
chaste virgins on our wedding night? No, we're not getting chaste virgins on our wedding night. Are we getting women of great virtue? No, we're not getting women of great virtue. The idea of courtly love is supposed to be done
Like, okay.
for women of great virtue. Where are they? Well, they're nowhere. And so in modernity and society, when female conservative influencers say this, it's actually a form of covert feminism. They're saying, I want privilege in society, right? But what is it women are giving to men to get it? What? What are they giving them? Tell me.
Well, they
Tommy,
gave you a place
Pierce, can I please chime in here?
Yes, you can. And then James can, and I'll come to you, Sean.
No, I would love to. I love this whole thing of like, if you're a female conservative and you don't believe that men should be douchebags, that all of a sudden you're a covert feminist. Call me a feminist. I really don't give one crap one way or another, but I can tell you
She gives a crap. She definitely gives a crap. You see her? Did you see her eyebrows? Her eyebrows were moving through her Botox. Do you know how? Because you see, I got nothing in the face, so you could see that. Like, if her eyebrows are moving through all that Botox, whoo!
this. A lot of these men, these podcast hosts on the right that like to think of themselves as these big masculine men, and what am I getting out of it? I can tell you
That should okay. Imagine if you, as an employer, you said I wanted to hire someone, and I said, hey, what do I get out of hiring you? And the person says, well, you think you're so cool with your podcast. And I mean, the guys are like, what do I get out of dedicating my life to you? Ah! She freaks out.
this.
There's that feminism.
All right, I believe I'm a woman of virtue,
coming
right?
out.
Yeah, there's the feminism. Oh, and then you're interrupting me too,
Didn't
which
take
is great. I
long,
let
did
you
it? Didn't
talk.
take
It's my
long,
turn.
did it?
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
she can't handle being interrupted. You're in a debate show.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to speak
So,
over me?
yeah, I don't care if you call me. I don't really care if you call me a
strong,
feminist.
independent woman.
Yeah. Yeah. You're actually interrupting me. I didn't interrupt you when you were spewing your bullshit. So now it's my turn. Okay.
You mean
so,
the truth?
like I said before,
Look.
so I believe there we go again. Piers, I'm a woman of virtue. I happen to be independently successful. I have a husband who's not only a former professional athlete.
So now she's trying to defend her reputation because, again, these women what they think is they get virtue points because they are conservative. And so oftentimes, like, we have a tendency to have shittier personalities because, we don't really, we attribute saying conservative things to being a better person, but men don't care. They do not care.
but is currently a professional baseball coach. So is he not a masculine man? I mean, I'm confused here. What's your concept?
So again, conservative women cannot help but using their family to virtue signal. So she's trying to say, no, I'm a good woman. My husband used to be in the MLB and he's a coach, okay? I'm a good woman. So they use their relationships for clout.
Don't you
of a
understand that
masculine man?
misses
Mine
the
is
point?
a man who
that
respects
misses,
me.
Yeah, that misses the point, though. Like, you're still not contending with the argument that I'm
what's your
making. I'm
point?
saying inside of society, right this second, right? Masculinity
Oh, I'm so happy they picked her. I am so happy. Pierce, I'm not even mad.
is not only punished, but also women on the right, covert feminists on the right, are constantly and consistently talking about how they need to have privilege in society. I want men. Their version of masculinity is men who take care of us, men who protect us, men who do all of this. Those are all duties that men have towards women. Great. What are the duties that women have towards men? What are the duties that women have towards anything? What do men get out of this arrangement? What are we getting out of this arrangement? Can you tell me?
I mean,
Well, I
as I
would
was
argue
going
that
through a
men
second
Well, so let Tommy
most men are
respond.
born that way.
Let Tommy respond to that,
Yeah, and she still can't answer the question. What do men get out of it?
and then I'll come to you, Jez. And then
Yeah,
Sean,
most
you've
men
been
are-
waiting patiently. So
Most men are born to be protectors and providers. I can't imagine my dad saying, you know what, to my mom,
See, again, do you see what you dads do? Do you see what you do? You guys create brats. You really do. It's the simp dad effect.
you know what, I'm not going to be a
Do you think she heard the word no from her father ever?
protector and a provider unless you do this. That's not
Hi, she's my little princess. It's like, for what? Really? For what?
how real men operate. Real men are protectors and providers.
Yeah, and so this is where I have a PowerPoint on this. So again, what happens is we go back to, wait, here we go. Conservative women, they see the men. They say feminism, yay, I want to be like the men. I'm going to join a man's world. Oh no, if I get fired, I'm going to falsely accuse them or create drama. And then if they don't get what they want, they scream, you're not a real man. And then so they want all the benefits of traditionalism, but without giving up their job, nagging their husband, or giving obedience. So yeah, they can never say, what do the men? Oh, I forgot to put kids in there. If they do have kids, they got to get a nanny to raise. Obviously, they can't do it. They're busy.
Providers, and they marry women who hopefully have some virtue, but also bring a lot to the table as well, that are great mothers, great wives, caretakers of the home. There's nothing wrong with being a traditional wife and mother. You're misunderstanding me if you think that I think that women should just be out doing whatever they want. I think that there are gender roles that should be respected, but I don't think a man needs to get something.
He said, I love getting lectured by a woman on what real men are. Even the guy in the middle laughed.
Out of it to be a manly man, a protector, and a provider. If you think you need to get something out of it, I quite frankly don't consider you a real man.
Yeah, she have nothing. She have nothing.
But we'll discuss in a moment whether Andrew Wilson is a real man.
Piers, I offer nothing. I offer nothing.
You offer me a lot of things, Tommy.
Yeah, he said you didn't offer a single argument. Okay, super chat from, so you are trying to take off the mask.
I always love having you on the show. You know that. Let's go to a real man, James Barr.
Thank you. I do see myself as a man. And I know that you'll be looking at me thinking, well, you're not. You're wearing makeup. You're wearing colourful clothes. Like, look at me. I'm really camp. My nails are painted.
I mean, they are worrying
You know,
signs.
you're sat there smoking a cigarette. I'd love to get a vape out and start drinking.
So now the men will start arguing for her. And especially, I'm going to skip.
All right, whether they're male.
So this other guy then starts simping for Tomi.
Oh, man, why they
And it's so funny. She looks so smug. She thinks she won.
gravitated to people like that?
He's mad. You see, he's like, how dare you talk to a lady like that?
Because I have.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I think it's, you know, first of all, we got to understand that we have an amazing responsibility as a parent.
Now, here's the thing. Conservative men are the worst in a different way. So conservative men, what they've done is they've taken a bad deal and they're miserable. Okay. And everybody can tell they're miserable. You know, like Matt Walsh, he's getting henpecked by his wife. It's not his house, you know, and they like misery loves company. And so what they love to do is they signed the marriage contract. So they signed up for misery, right? And they want all the other men to be miserable with them. And they'll say they're irresponsible or shame them if other men benefit from female sexuality. So, because again, they didn't get the best years of their wife. They didn't get the best out of their wife. So when a guy is sleeping around like Tate and he's getting these women to get naked on camera for nothing, or like just cause they can't believe it. They're like, this is immoral, but it's only because they can't get anything out of the women. So they're jealous. They're jealous. I won't lie. I've never seen a guy that it's very easy for him to cheat, not do it. I've seen men that are too lazy to go do it, or they think it's too much work or will cause too much problems. But guys, can we just be honest here? You could be the best wife in the world, but if he sees a hot 22-year-old and you're like 45, it's over. Just take the L. Just, you know what I mean? Just eat it. Just makes vast assumptions and generalizes too much. Tony, what are you, a woman? Like, that's what women say, all right? Tomi, you were born a simp, therefore you get nothing.
Lead from the home and to have these open conversations with our young children, all right? Whether they're male children, female children, we have to make sure that we're having open door conversations and we are tackling the hard subjects. Because if we don't take care of everything at home, we don't take care of everything in public, like at school, and other forces within society that...
MGTOW, some of us met our wives when we were 19. Are we talking about the exception or the rule? Are most men, are Gen Z men going to meet their wives when they're 19? You know, I'm sorry. We're beefing today, chat. We're beefing.
Help raise our children. We always say it takes a village. Well, it certainly does, but it starts at home. And if you cannot have these open conversations and allow your children to be honest and open with how they are feeling about society and the things that they are seeing, they are going to go to misogyny. They're going to go to the Andrew and Tristan Tates of the world, and they're going to learn how to be a man from that. And that is not what society needs. It's not what the world needs. That is not.
So again, they also have a hero complex. So they want The psychology is they want the world to look up to them, the conservative men, and they don't be like, they want to use their virtue to have other men look up to them.
It's not masculinity. It is masquerading as misogyny.
How do we protect young men from the easy access at the moment there is to people like Tate? I mean, how do you actually put a ring fence around them so that you can tackle exactly what you've just said, but they're not also being dragged into that world?
It's tough because they're growing up in a world we never grew up in, Piers. We didn't grow up with the internet. We didn't grow up with Bumble, Tinder, Instagram, Facebook.
No, I was taught how to treat women by my mother, my grandmother.
Open the door,
my
right?
Aunts,
Open the door.
A lot of strong women in my family, very
Of course there are.
strong women. And they would just take no crap from the men. So that's the environment I grew up in.
Absolutely. So how do we insulate our children from this? By having conversations, putting parameters around the social media aspects of life and having the conversations at home. Hey, son, hey, daughter, this is what you're going to see out there in the real world. This is what you're going to see on the internet. If you see something like this, that is not how a true man is supposed to act. And hey, that's not how a real man's supposed to treat you.
Right. So
we have to have the conversations.
Yeah. Andrew, do you intrinsically disagree with what you've just heard?
Yeah, I do. I think, again, all of this is always the burden on men, burden on men, burden on men. Men need to be doing this.
No, it's a family, Andrew. The family.
Hang on. Let me finish,
family,
man.
Andrew.
Men need to,
husband and wife.
Okay, yeah. So let me back up. Okay. Again, men need to do this. Men need to do that. What I'm talking about is what duties do women have in society?
3 people. No one can answer his question.
What are the actual women's duties towards men? Everybody is raised from the time they're kids how we're supposed to treat women. We all know how to treat women. We never talk about how men are supposed to be treated. That's almost never discussed, especially by how women are supposed to treat men, what their duties in society are. This has been completely dispelled. Guys like Tate have risen because Christianity itself has become a feminized religion, especially the Protestant sects has become completely feminized. And it didn't used to punish masculinity at all. And now it does. And so where's the alternative? Where's the spiritual alternative? It's nowhere. And we need to get back to this fundamental question of what even is misogyny? Because I don't think that men kicking the crap out of each other, being brutes, insulting each other, hazing each other, even bullying each other is misogyny. Not only do I not think it's misogyny, I think it's perfectly healthy.
Yeah, but I don't think that's misogyny.
Well-adjusted. Is that the argument?
But that is not misogyny.
Well, no, hang on.
How
women see this is
misogyny is where you have a hatred or, whatever you want to phrase it, towards women. It's not about men treating men.
Sorry, toxic masculinity is what I'm referencing here. And toxic masculinity is what they're claiming leads to misogyny. So what I'm talking about is these are all masculine traits. There's nothing wrong with them, right? When you're talking about misogyny itself, I want to know what that even is. Is it just asserting yourself to women, telling women no, telling them no, that's bullshit?
No, I would say it's okay. Let me
telling
answer
them you're saying stupid things.
Andrew Tate says he's quite open about it. Women should stay at home. They shouldn't go out to work. They should do what he tells them. He's the king of the castle in his house, blah, 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 blah. That is misogyny.
Okay. So again, why wouldn't you want a man to be the king of the castle in his own house? Isn't that how you want him to feel?
Isn't it? I've got a daughter. I've got a 13-year-old daughter. I don't want her thinking she can never leave the house. She's somebody's chattel.
It's not never leaving the house. Look, it is true that the world would be a better place if we didn't have it inverted and women did have a natural role at home and that was glorified and that there was government propaganda around the nuclear family and keeping women home. Why do you want to outsource the raising of children to strangers instead of your wife? That's a way better society. Why do you want your best and brightest women forced to go to a workplace instead of the best and brightest women staying at home raising their children? That's a way better system. It's always been a better system.
I guess we're talking freedom of choice.
That's not misogyny.
Women to do anything. It's freedom of choice. It's freedom of choice. I love the fact that my wife's out there working, teaching kids and building adolescents. I love that. And to your point about what do I get from a woman? I have a home. I have 3 beautiful children.
For now, I don't know if you'll have that in a year, much less a decade.
Communication in the house. And to me, that means more than anything. Like, I don't understand where I'm not saying you're wrong in your world, but to to sit there and say to a woman, what do I?
And do you see Tomi? She's so happy that the simp is fighting for her. None of them have answered a so simple question. What do men get out of it? Men aren't getting children. They're getting maybe one.
I get out of this woman? That's treating her like an object.
One thing I want to play clear.
Okay, so it's okay to treat men like objects, give them duties,
I
but
don't
you're not
feel
allowed
like an
to give
object.
women duties.
I feel respected.
Okay,
in my
well, let me
home.
ask.
Okay. And you know what? I have to be honest. A lot of these guys are kind of idiots. And I got to be honest, guys. And it's okay. I've done some idiotic things. So this isn't trying to come from a place of I'm better than them or, yeah. So I don't want it to appear like that. But, you know, there's decisions I've made in my life and I've looked back and just thought that was idiotic. That was dumb. And that's what I think a lot of men look back when they get married to a miserable wife. They're like, I didn't even Google the divorce laws. That's pretty dumb, right? So, yeah. I mean, this guy, he just hasn't had any consequence. And maybe he never will. I hope he doesn't. But he wants you all to suffer too. And you know why? It's for him. He wants a better future for his kids. Most men don't even know if they're going to have kids. So what the conservatives are saying are you young men who may not even have a wife, who may not even have a family, have to sacrifice your life for my children. Tough sell. That's a tough sell. Nobody can. And they say, what do I get in return? They still got nothing.
Ask you this.
I'm not angry
about it. How come it is in the United States that men can be drafted? Women can't be drafted, but women can vote to send men to war. 18 years old, they're stabbing each other in the face with bayonets. Women can vote to send men to war that they then themselves do not have to fight. It's a duty that men have, they do not have. What's the counter duty for women? There's no obligation for women to have children. We're well under replacement rate. It's slated 45% of women will be single in the next 10 years, up to 60% in the next 30. That's the estimates right now. Our replacement rate, we can't even replace our own country's birth rates. That's how low they are.
Maybe
this is what we're seeing as a systemic issue inside of society because nobody will put duties on women.
Go on,
Instead,
James.
you just
Maybe it's men like you that are making that
maybe that's why
happen.
the
Maybe you're the
replacement
problem.
rate is low.
Yeah,
It's crazy to me as well that you are just saying.
Don't talk over each other. Let James speak.
I can't understand why you are sat there confidently thinking of yourself as a victim constantly. You have a platform and you're sat here like, I'm a victim. What are women doing for me? What happened in your childhood that has made you so traumatized as an adult that you cannot stand women succeeding? I'm so confused. I feel like the problem is not, and actually maybe this is our fault. Maybe this is the left's fault. Maybe this is modern society's fault for leaving people like you behind. But genuinely, we do not hate men, and toxic masculinity has been thrown around a lot. Ultimately, some of what you're saying is toxic, but that's not because you're a man. That's because you're an idiot.
All right.
Okay. So just to give you a quick rejoinder here, again, didn't contend with a single argument I made. You just said, why are you acting like a victim? While you're here talking about how women are
victims. You're not contending with arguments that other people are making.
It's wild to me. It's so wild to me.
You know this is Piers' show.
Let me play another clip.
I know this is Piers' show.
Let me go to Tomi. Tomi, I want to play you a clip. This is from a show called Newsnight on the BBC in the UK, where the host, Victoria Derbyshire, had a panel of young men and asked them, when was the last time you cried? Let's watch this.
When was the last time you cried?
Honestly, the last time I cried, I couldn't tell you.
Same with Leo. I can't really remember the last time that I cried fully.
A lot of times I feel emotion and I look at myself, why can't I cry? We're told to suppress our emotions.
I feel like
the conservatives, even though I mostly align in nuance, I still think of this battle as between men and women is selfishness.
So guys, we may be treated a certain way that evokes an idea that we have to be extremely strong and upfront and here as a man, and I'm going to be composed at all times.
Now, I've got a slight issue with this, Tomi, in the sense that one of the most devastating moments for me as a movie watcher was watching James Bond blubbing in the last Bond movie. Right? I don't think to prove you're a modern man, you need to be sobbing all the time. You know, I can't remember the last time I cried. It doesn't make me less of a man or less empathetic to people or anything. I just think again, the pendulum issue of what we want men to be, I think we're now trying to persuade a lot of young men, if you're not emoting all the time, then you're being suppressed in some way. We have over here the British stiff upper lip, which I think is a really bad rap. I think it's not a bad thing to actually not over-emote. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's...
Oh, sorry, Sean, I'll come to you. That was for Tomi. I'll come to you in a minute, Sean.
Oh, sorry, Tom.
For Tomi.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all, Piers. I don't think that men should be trained to be overly emotional and that should be a sign now of new maturity, being emotional. I don't agree with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with men crying in certain circumstances. Listen, everybody has a different journey. Everybody has a different set of circumstances. There are circumstances wherein men crying I have no issue with. It's also not up to me to tell a man when he can or cannot cry. I personally prefer the men in my life not to be overly emotional, but that's just a personal preference. Really, who am I to tell a man how he should exhibit his emotions? But again, I think that there is two sides here that are both too extreme. You've got the one hand that wants men to be feminine and cry and show their emotion and be weak. And then you've got the other side that says you cannot cry, you must always be strong, and you should look at women as an object. So again, there's got to be a happy medium here. I think there once was, but now because of, again, I agree, there was an overreaction of the feminist movement to make men weak. I don't agree with that either.
Yeah.
I just wish we could come to a place where there was a happy medium where
And who gets to decide the medium? You, of course.
people could just
Now, this is just, you're not behaving the way that I want. That's what she's saying.
be human beings who could have a gender role but weren't married to that gender role in absolute.
Okay, so now she's saying we could be human beings who would have a gender role but not married to that gender role. So that's how the conservative women get around. They want the clout and the benefit of appearing traditional without doing any of the hard things like putting away their media careers, raising their kids, not having a nanny do it, or not putting their relationship on the internet. I don't blame them. Do you know what I mean? I mean, like, they get paid to talk. I'm not even saying they shouldn't do what they're doing. I mean, if your wife could get $3 million a year to do a couple news shows and you work a little, like, it's 2025, but it's not what they're selling, right? That's the point.
There's got to be a place for that. I would certainly hope.
Yeah. Andrew Wilson, when was the last time you cried?
When I had a death in my family.
And how long ago was that, if you don't mind me asking?
Many, many, many years. Yeah, many years. I don't know, maybe a decade, something like that.
Right. So you haven't shed a tear in a decade?
I don't think so, no.
Would you see it inherently as a weakness in a man to emote?
Well, yeah, men, listen, you don't want men to fall to pieces in crisis. You're the head of a family, you're the head of your household, and also you're the heads of nations. You have a moral obligation not to fall to pieces. In fact, I would say you're duty bound not to. You need to be able to control your emotions, and you need to be able to attempt to control them at all times. It's not to say that you're not going to lose control. Nobody's perfect. But I think that the idea of the stoic man is a much better prospect for the idea of, like, this leftist that I'm arguing with next to me on the panel. I would not want to be that guy, that person who just cannot control their internal emotions. They can't do it. And unfortunately, again, this is through the viewpoint of the feminine prism, that it's only through empathy, right? Empathy first. And it's like, no, it's not always about empathy. It's also about reason. It's also about logic. It's also about understanding that we live in a carnal world full of warring tribes who are always killing each other. And that's part of the human condition. You can't afford to have your men losing control to emotion or to empathy.
James, when was the last time you didn't cry on a date? Let's flip the question around.
I haven't cried today, but I did cry yesterday, and I think it's okay to cry. And it's funny that you keep trying to goad me and saying that I don't have control of my emotions. I think I have incredible control over my emotions because I know what's upsetting me and when, and I'm able to talk about it.
How often do you cry?
Oh, his reactions are so funny.